Hey, we made it, people. Well, so far. Welcome back to Bumblebee. I'm your host, Kyle McWaters. Now, I love a good disaster movie myself. Floods, volcanoes, alien invasions. There's tons of ways the Earth could end. Thankfully, here's only 10. Top 10 ways the world was supposed to end in history. Number 10. Pope Sylvester II. Gerbert of Aurillac, or famously known as Pope Sylvester II, alongside other Christian leaders, foretold the coming of Jesus at the turn of the millennium, year 1000. And being a pope, hand-chosen from God himself, people really believed him. People rioted in the streets, thousands of Christians stormed the holy city of Jerusalem, and millions attended what they thought would be the midnight mass of the century at St. Peter's Basilica, with Sylvester himself on New Year's Eve. As the sun rose on January 1st, it was clear the world was not ending, and Jesus was not back. Shamed, Sylvester and the other leaders revised their prediction after a quick math equation. Aha! A problem. It wasn't 1,000 years after he was born, it was 1,000 years after he died, of course. Oh. Everyone writes that down, they're just writing nothing. In 1033, 33 years later, never happened again. Pope Sylvester was already dead, of course, so he saved himself the shame twice. Luckily. Number 9. Martin Luther. As a young, practicing man of God, Martin Luther was the German-born revolutionist and theologist, said some pretty heavy stuff. At 21, Luther fought his way through a severe thunderstorm and a bolt of lightning struck the ground right in front of him. Ground zero for this guy. He got his doctorate in the Bible and became a professor at Wittenberg University and lectured what they were living in. It was the end of times. He saw some signs and did some math according to Jewish text and prophesied that the earth had 5 millennials, and being of the year 1540, times were tight. He observed natural phenomenon and considered it was a sign of the end of times and called attention to them. He thought that the worst sign of all was that humans were at an all-time stupid and an all-time most selfish to each other. He thought it was the end of humanity, literally. People were so bad, he was like, yeah, it's right on time. Must be the time, everyone, here we go. Unfortunately, he was wrong. Number 8. London Astronomers. 1523, a group of astrologers in London were looking up and predicted the apocalypse would begin on February 1st of the next year, wiping out the Earth in a gigantic flood. The planets were aligned in the constellation of Pisces, the fish. So the conclusion was that the entire country would be drowned and civilization would be erased. No proof, just people really paranoid and guessing. Over 20,000 people fled the center of London out of fear of the massive tidal wave that was about to hit. Word got out, of course, and all throughout Europe, people started building towers and arcs to survive. Word spread that a sophisticated group of astrologers calculated that another grand conjunction biblical event would occur due to the 7 planets' alignments. Who knows? Nope, just another regular day. Embarrassed, the Astronomers Society said they were off by 100 years. Didn't happen in 1624 either. Yeah, I'd like to see some of your credentials. Yeah, please, come. Number 7. 1780's General Assembly. In 1780, the Connecticut General Assembly met about an alarming sight above their heads: darkness. May 19th, 1780, a strange darkness fell over New England. It was so dark by noon that it was impossible to read or write, even sitting beside a window with sunshine. The darkness. The people of Hartford demanded a legislative meeting, and at Old State House legislator Abraham Davenport said, "Bring candles, for this is the day of judgment." The dark day inspired panic amongst the streets, mobs of people fleeing, all of the men and women praying and crying. Thousands left and fled to bars and churches. It was terrible. Turns out it was just a huge forest fire from up north and completely overrun by smoke and smog. They thought it was just Judgment Day. So much panic in the streets with all these false alarms. I feel like this was the time where anxiety was invented. Number 6. Mary Bateman. Mary Bateman was an English criminal and alleged witch, known as the Yorkshire Witch, who was tried and executed for murder during the early 19th century. She did a ton of robberies and was caught several times, escaping prison each time as well. She's got a gruesome track record. In 1806, she performed a hoax known as the Prophet Hen of Leeds, in which eggs laid by a hen had been found and written on, quote, "Christ is coming." First off, how is that all written on an egg? Like it's an egg. Like each letter on an egg individually, like making the word, or like all handwritten very tiny on one egg. People then believed the message was a warning sign that Judgment Day was upon us. People freaked out, but she had just written on the eggs using acid and reinserted them back up into the poor hen. She was tried and accused of witchcraft, robbery, and murder. No animal cruelty though. I was kind of shocked at that one. Number 5. The Great Disappointment. It's like what my dad calls me. The Great Disappointment in the Miller-Right movement was the people's reaction after famous Baptist William Millers proclaimed that Jesus Christ would return to the earth in 1844. The Second Great Awakening, he called it, and it led him to think that it was right around the corner. A former captain in the War of 1812, Miller converted and began to search scriptures for truth. 2 years of homework and this guy was convinced. 2,300 days meant Jesus was on the way, and purging of the earth by fire? Oh, in short, a giant apocalypse. Never happened though, and people were pissed. Well, disappointed. Hence the name. Way to go, William. We're really looking forward to this. No, it's okay, guys. I got this. Thanks a lot, man. No, have some respect, man. Number 4, Nostradamus. Where do I even start with this guy? A lot of people believe his prophecies are genuine, and I do too. Nostradamus enthusiasts have credited him with predicting tons of events in world history, including the French Revolution, the rise of evil world leaders, atomic research, the assassination of JFK, and even September 11th, 2001 attack in New York. By 1554, Nostradamus' visions had become a regular part of his works in the almanacs, and wrote all his work in a giant collection first titled Centuries. Sounds like a pretty fire album to me. He planned to write 10 volumes, which would contain 100 predictions forecasting the next 2,000 years. Dude, Long Island Medium has nothing on this guy. Holy shoot, the guy even drew up his own will with a lawyer and said, yeah, I'm not gonna make it through the night. And then died in the morning. He predicts the earth is done by 3797. So we got some time. We got some time. This guy's like the Simpsons of his time, huh? Nuts. Number 3, Jeane Dixon. Jeane Dixon was one of the best known American self-proclaimed psychics and astrologers of the 20th century due to her famous newspaper astrology column, a number of well-published predictions in the 40s, and of course in 1942, her first famous prediction when she told actress Carole Lombard not to fly for it was dangerous for her. The plane crashed in flames weeks later in Las Vegas in a massive storm, killing her. In 1945, she even told Roosevelt he didn't have much longer. He died a month later. In 1953, Dixon famously said on NBC she saw a silver ball from Russia in space. 4 years later, Sputnik secret launch happened. Okay, she's good. She's good. In 1963, she predicted a massive planetary alignment which would lead to the end of times. It caused mass prayer sites all over the world. Yeah, no shit, she nailed a couple of them. Who wouldn't believe her? Also, she predicted Russia and China would have a massive conflict in 2025 and 2037. Taylor? Someone to find Taylor. I need Taylor, please. Number 2. Heaven's Gates. Marshall Herff Applewhite Jr. was an American religious leader who founded what became known as the Heaven's Gate religious group and created and organized their mass suicide in 1997. It was the largest mass suicide to occur inside the United States. Sad part and scary part was Heaven's Gate actually received huge amounts of funds in the 1970s which paid for itself. It was the first GoFundMe. In the 90s, the group took more steps to publicize their theology, and in 1996, with the news of the approaching comet Hale-Bopp alongside an alien mothership, concluding to their belief that this was the vessel that would take their spirits on board to another planet. Just beam their souls up and they would arrive on board the spaceship and be given new bodies. The group members then took their own lives, sadly, in a mass group suicide. He took his own life as well, with the same ideology. Wow, way to keep it light, Kyle. Who wrote this? And coming in the number 1 spot, 2012. 2012 was a monumental year for many reasons. It was a blockbuster disaster movie's dream year, it was the end of the very accurate Mayan calendar, and it was the second end of the world false alarm that I had lived through. Yeah, my first being Y2K, of course. I remember saying Happy New Year to all my family and my parents were just sullen-faced, just anxious the entire time. Happy New Year. The 2012 phenomenon predicted the world would end at the end of the 13th Bacton. The Earth would be destroyed by an asteroid Nibiru, an alien invasion, a supernova, and of course, Mayanist scholars stated that the anxiety of impending doom we were all reading about on our phones was just a false alarm. Whew. Yeah, I didn't think it was real. I was really into learning about Quetzalcoatl that year, and I was definitely one of those people running around panicking everyone else. But no, 2012 came and went, and for some people marked a year of anxiety, and some a fresh start. Well, there you have it, folks. 10 times people were like, we're gonna die! We're gonna die! And we seem to be okay. Let me know in the comments down below what other events you want to hear about, and I'll see you next time on Bumblebee.